my reaction is, oh no. But then my Ukrainian friends is like,
You happen to learn Russian and Ukrainian, more Ukrainian than Russian, or
Yeah.
what it's like?
Сьогодні погода дуже погана, на мою думку. The longer I stay in Ukraine, the more, you know, my mind shifts to a certain conversation.
How would you summarize English learners here, and what would you suggest?
Ask yourself if you really want to learn English. I say 20% or 25% in the class and 75% in your own time.
Some people say no, grammar is very important, but where are you in this conversation?
Grammar doesn't have to be perfect. Grammar makes it clear what you're saying.
Yeah, humor is a challenging thing to transfer,
Yeah.
so to say. And by the way, so here while you are in Ukraine, have you had these situations when you hear a joke and you don't get it? Somebody translate it to you and you still don't get it?
Yes. It's really uncomfortable. Because I get uncomfortable when I can't laugh with people.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had this in the US.
I don't want to like force the laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is a strange thing. I've noticed there's a lot of, it's kind of a dark humor. Like,
Yeah, we have a lot of it.
Yeah. Like they'll laugh at someone who's injured themselves. And my friend told me this.
We like watching especially videos
Yeah.
when somebody hurts.
And then my reaction is, oh no. But then my Ukrainian friends is like, which, you know, it's a different thing. And then it depends also. There's people in American guys that laugh at this stuff. We used to have these kind of videos too.
Maybe here it's more common.
Yeah.
Like more accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. And in general, so you happen to learn Russian and Ukrainian, more Ukrainian than Russian, or
Yeah.
what it's like? So Ukrainian
Yeah.
other than Russian.
Yeah,
Why Ukrainian? Why did you choose this?
I
Because
thought
Russian is more practical, I would say. I mean, more
in
countries
retrospect, it all makes sense. Like when I first came here, I assumed that that there was a balance
Mm-hmm.
because I had a choice, and so I chose Ukrainian. But yeah, like looking back at it, I don't regret it. But Russian is more universal. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you learn Ukrainian, you speak it in Ukraine.
Exactly.
You learn Russian, you speak it in Russia, in Ukraine, in Belarus, in Kazakhstan, and other different countries.
Yeah, many other countries.
Yeah.
Even there's people in the States, I heard them speaking Russian, either I knew them before or when I go visit, but they're from like Kiev. And I would never know, like, they would know Ukrainian. So yeah, it's more universal. You know.
Yeah.
I think if I can progress with Ukrainian, you know, then it makes more sense of it than transition to Russian. You know?
Yes, because I believe that will certainly help you, yes, in the future. And if you started with Ukrainian, maybe it's better to get it at least to some point, so that it will not demotivate you, that you started one thing and you dropped it and you picked up another thing and then you dropped that. So it's better to stick with one and then you will. So can you maybe say something in Ukrainian, something to demonstrate that you actually learned it?
Oh yeah.
Maybe some, I don't know, like recent situations or...
Let's see here. Just in general, I think a general thing is whenever I meet a new person, I'd say, Привіт, мене звати Джастин, я з Америки, і я вже жив у Вінниці 5 років, і у Вінниці сьогодні погода дуже погана, на мою думку.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really good.
Yeah.
Advanced Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Would you translate that?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Justin. I'm from America. I've lived in Venice for 5 years. And today the weather is very bad in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's good. There are a lot of stuff that, of course, you need to, some stuff that you use more often, and something that you use more rare, but still you got it. So it's been 5 years since you would come and go, yeah? So it was not persistent 5 years, but you would.
Yeah, almost 5 years. I'm in my 5th year, but I've gone back to the States twice. Yeah, since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Once for a
only
longer
twice.
visit,
I thought more often. Only twice.
So yeah, once for a long visit in 2018, and then a short visit 2019.
I see. So and then now you're going back to the US, and then you're coming back in a few minutes. Few months.
Like the Flash. No. Yeah, this will be my second long visit. It was postponed after last year.
How do you feel like when you come to the US after such a long time? How do you feel? Do you have something? All right, now I have to. I don't know. You miss some food, or you miss certain people, you miss certain atmosphere, whatever. Like, what is the first thing that you want to do when you come to the US?
Yeah, I mean, I miss my parents. You know, so the first thing I'm gonna do is help my mother. Yeah, and just chill out with them. You know, really chill out with them, taking those moments. But yeah, there's foods I miss, junk food mostly. I have that list. It's in progress. And then the beach when I get to LA, just to go sit at the beach and just take that in.
The weather, right?
Yeah, the weather.
Because as we talked today, our local weather is not something that you're used to.
No,
so.
it's truly snowing today. It's not. I just took a peek outside.
Yeah, it's April and it's snowing. Like, to you is something at least weird.
Yeah, but something else is you asked with the same question is the longer I stay in Ukraine, the more my mind shifts to a certain conversation, like certain topics. So when I go back and visit, the topics that friends and family are talking about, I just don't.
You have to reset.
Yeah. It's a good reminder. I think there's some situations here in Ukraine that keep me really grounded and thankful. And that's something that I hope to pass on to the kids that we visit, and to people at home. It's just encouragement and really just staying grounded in the things that we have.
Because you have a purpose here, right?
Yeah.
The purpose that you shared, and that's why coming back, it's like you. I don't want to say that you go away from your purpose, but you understand what I mean. So you start thinking differently at home than here.
Yeah.
And also there was one expression you said, so I stay grounded, right?
Yeah.
So would you explain that?
Yeah, of course. So grounded, like your feet are flat on the floor. Sometimes when we're full of ourselves or have expectations that aren't realistic, we start, you're like rising up. You're off the ground at this point, whether it's your ego or your expectations. You can forget
who you really are.
Things to be grateful for, because you're always wanting. So to be grounded means or rooted even means to just, be on the ground. Humbled. Yeah.
That would be the word.
Yeah, humbled.
Yeah.
That's a simple definition. Humbled.
Yeah, I know sometimes it just runs away from your mind. Also, I know there is an English idiom, but it's a bit different, I would say, to stay your ground. Like I stay my ground, I think it's been more like, defending your opinion. I think this is what it means.
Stand your ground.
So it's not about like being humble, but it's more about
almost like being stubborn in a way.
So the opposite. The same word, yes, but
yeah, because like you said, I think it's rooted in something defensive. Like, if this is the way it's been, you're not going to change or move. If it's your opinion or something actually physical, stand your ground, like a defense. Not let someone kind of run over.
Yeah. Yes. I get it.
Yeah.
So as a final part, I would like you to because I know that you have experience of not studying but teaching English, and so you probably had some moments when you saw people learning and you had some observations, right? So what would you suggest? How would you summarize? Yes, how would you summarize English learners here, and what would you suggest? What would you say that this is what you should do, guys, and to all different levels?
Well, I would say ask yourself if you really want to learn English.
Yeah, before you start.
Yeah.
So you can't just do it as something, all right, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So it's motivation.
Yeah, motivation. And guys, like there's a lot of resources now.
It's the 21st century we live in.
Yeah, to get connected with English speakers. If you meet someone here in Vinica or social media, you know, make your purpose known that you want more practice, and just online YouTube videos, TV shows. There's so many resources. So to ask yourself if you really want to learn, and then take the responsibility to learn yourself. So like not to depend on the teacher alone. But I think it's, I don't know if my percentages are right, but I say 20% or 25% in the class and 75% in your own time. You know, speaking in the street.
So this is what I also try to tell my students. Like, you have to find the way. For example, like, of course, if you go to the US, you have a natural environment and you can speak to all of them. But if you're here in Ukraine, some people say, I heard actually recently, I heard an opinion from one girl. She said, I don't want to learn English now. When I go abroad, I will learn it there. And I was like, but isn't it better to learn it here and then go abroad? Like, you can create this environment. Yes, it will not be as good as that would be in the States, but it can be, I don't know, there are a lot of platforms. Yeah, YouTube videos, it's okay, that would be one way. But if it's Skype or there are other apps that exist on the internet, and there will be a two-way communication.
Yeah.
And you can exchange for free, because I learned French, so I would communicate with some people who learn Russian or Ukrainian, and we would exchange this knowledge for free. So I found a way, and I believe everyone can do so. So yeah, a lot of people are concerned. So there are people who say we should only speak and the grammar is not important. What important is people understanding me. Some people say no, grammar is very important. But where are you in this conversation, in this debate?
I've seen both. I think you, again, taking the responsibility on yourself, because you can meet somebody who's had an encounter with a foreigner trying to speak, and they have that ear where they can kind of figure out what you want to say, right? But grammar makes it clear what you're saying. So,
and it doesn't hurt ears.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't have to like listen and then correct it. And then
you can focus on what I'm saying rather how I say it.
Yeah.
Because some people would like, I think I got it, but
yeah, grammar doesn't have to be perfect, but I think the basic tenses or cases should be studied. Like you're not trying to be like a university level, I don't think, unless you are. So to get like the basic grammar points down, it's only going to help you, especially if this girl does go to the States and she's in an emergency situation. Past
it's
tense
not time
or
to
present
learn.
tense, yeah, it can make a big difference.
Yes, I have a problem and I had a problem. Would make a huge difference. Also, why I asked about grammar, because the same thing. So in Russian or Ukrainian, we torture grammar. We just make a lot of mistakes, and people just kind of get used to it. And myself, I also, when I watch movies or when I just watch some videos, I can. I'm not saying yes, my English is perfect or something, but I can see some mistakes that native Americans make, or even British people make. One of them is something that you also said it throughout the video. I'll do this.
This is
and this is what Americans do. So they would say there is, and they would say there is many people, or there is many, and then you say, but shouldn't it be there are?
There are.
Yeah. But I see that for Americans it became as a static phrase. I don't know, there is, and so what I noticed is that you would use there is all the time, whether it's plural or singular or head.
Yeah.
And there are some things like that.
Yeah.
So but you still, as I suppose, you know the right answer, you know how to say it right, but sometimes you just say it. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends also, like we were talking about dialects and things like this. Within certain communities in the US, the grammar is let go. It's very loose, and then when you get excited, you know, the grammar goes. It can go out of the window. I mean, I prefer to speak grammatically correct. But yeah, it's very common that that's done as well, like double negatives and then like if it is an R, kind of being dropped. Yeah.
But I think it's because a lot of people, what I know, there are more. I don't want to bring up the research, but there are more people who learned how to speak English than those people who natively speak it. That's why all those people who learn English and as their second language, they bring something also from their language.
Oh.
And I believe that we, as second, as English learners, yes, we how to say it better? We are also the reason why English is being transformed and changed. Because, for example, I know that this phrase in English, long time no see. Yes, so grammatically it's nowhere near, yes, but I know that it came from Chinese. This is their way of speaking, and now it's all right to say it it's all right. It's like a phrase, or also like how is it going? Yes, also I believe it comes from French, like from comment ça va, because I believe in English is like, it doesn't really make sense. How is it going? Like, who is going? What is going?
Yeah.
So I heard that it also came from French. How is it going? And you can also say it's going.
Yeah,
yes?
And
in French you say ça va.
So,
Comment ça va? Ça va? Ça va?
That's true.
Yeah, so a lot of languages, they influence English.
Yeah. And we don't even know it. Like an average speaker until you think about it.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff that you just don't notice until you start thinking about it. All right, thank you for a great conversation. It's been nice talking to you, and hopefully we can make another video.
Yeah.
When you come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Cut.
I kept wanting to look over there.
I hope it's being recorded. This is why.